Folks, we have a very special guest for you tonight. I'd like to introduce
Let's hear it for the great Mr. Hunt.
And now for a lesson in rhythm management. Let's begin. All right now, wasn't that fun? Let's try something else.
Okay, it works now. Hello, YouTube. I am Night Ninja, the Fear of All. And thing is, I don't always focus on Christian content. I try to kind of do a mix of doing Christian content and still doing game streams and stuff like that, especially because ever since I became a Christian, I started to see the biblical themes in practically anything that is that is not really Christian, but is just simply put the likes of just fiction, what we believe to just be fiction. Ever since I was a kid, I thought there was something special, something specific about fiction, about the supernatural. For sure, ever since I was a kid, I thought that supernatural stuff was legitimate. Um, I mean, for example, if I were to point towards anything specifically, I used to try and talk to ghosts because I saw shows like Ghost Hunters and stuff like that growing up with who was my childhood friend. And it definitely wasn't a good idea. I gotta be completely honest. It was probably one of the worst things I could have started doing at a very young age. And As a Christian, I'll say this much: I'm definitely not a perfect person. I don't always try to just simply judge people because I think I'm above them, because very clearly I'm not. I am I am a flawed human who has sinned, who has messed up many times, who had needed to repent. Christianity brought me to self reflection, it brought me to repentance, it brought me to also forgiveness for people that I never thought I would have forgiven. And while I'm even going through a lot of personal issues right now with my family, that being said, I really am, honest to God, trying my best to just simply do what I can, to be a good Christian, to do the right thing, to help lead people right. And the more that there is stuff that is all too close to end times prophecy, the harder it is to not just be cautious, to try and be aware, to try and be prepared, even if I suck at all of the above. But to at least start to help, there was a book that I made use of to help in this. Let me go and just grab it real quick. Okay, so just put this back on. So this book I've made use of to at least kind of get somewhat familiar with end times prophecy. Honest to God, there's a lot that I have planned that I would want to actually serve God and serve Jesus Christ for. I 100% believe that I met Jesus in my dreams and had a Joseph level prophecy be fulfilled right in front of my very eyes the next morning. And since then, Christianity blew my mind. Bottom line. And beforehand, when I was in the New Age, I just had this sense of the world, life feels very supernatural, that there is some sort of supernatural element to life, simply because the only thing that seemed close was what the New Age was trying to say to excuse this, that, or the other, to have an answer for this, that, or the other. Christianity actually just was a much better puzzle piece, because the New Age barely, just barely, could work as that missing puzzle piece, but in actuality, it didn't look the same as the rest of the puzzle, and it still had many gaping spots that it wasn't filling, truly. And when the Holy Bible, when biblical history, when Christianity, when its piece was instead put in, it fit perfectly. And it completed the entire picture of that puzzle. It's why I still have an interest in fiction, in sci-fi, in all this stuff, especially when so much of it is way too close to end times crap, even sometimes. And I gotta point to specifically Metal Gear Solid 4. I want to actually get through all of Metal Gear and just review it all for YouTube, but not just review it, but more so break it down from a biblical standpoint, because just Metal Gear Solid 4 freaked me the hell out when I first played it. And that was my first Metal Gear, so it wasn't so much that I was freaked out because I had the baggage of every past entry. No. It just was trippy, especially because Old Snake looks like my grandpa, Jeffrey Tad Crane, who is a real Vietnam vet, who has the porn stash, has the same facial details, like especially the nose, and he smokes the same. like the installation screen of Metal Gear Solid 4, when it's installing either the individual acts or it's installing the likes of all the acts at once. You're just seeing Snake smoke on loop, put his used cigar or cigarette in some sort of a tin, and then just pull out a new one and start it all over again. And again, just it tripped me out just over the fact that I was seeing my grandpa in a game like that. You know what I mean? But especially as a Christian, so much about Metal Gear is very, very, very creepy, very profound. From the conspiracies that happens throughout each entry to the biblical themes themselves, it's more in depth than people give it credit for. Because a lot of people would like to instead tell Hideo Kojima, oh, he's just crazy, or he just makes the most convoluted, complicated crap ever. No. This stuff is creepily on point. Especially stuff like Metal Gear Solid 2, for the stuff that it somehow predicted all too well. Just the censorship alone that happens online was predicted in Metal Gear Solid 2 in such a specific way that is hard to just shrug off and act like that was nothing. No. I'm at least familiar enough with the series to where I could give a general breakdown of these conspiracies and these biblical themes. I mean, just the original game alone, which honestly wasn't very fun to play, just because it is definitely very, it's very much aged, but then again, it was on the MSX, an 8-bit console, so, you know, it's gonna age, to be fair. That being said, it had a simple enough plot that, let's be real, it is something that happens in real life. The plot of believing and trusting in someone higher up that ends up being the one who is behind the big scheme to begin with, who is the one actually wanting war, who is actually ready to destroy the world, all for such things. And it gets crazier as it goes on. Metal Gear 2 definitely was also pretty crazy there as well. And while I haven't played it from beginning to end, from my understanding, so much of it is how much Big Boss has a very twisted sense of why soldiers need war. Because clearly, when someone sins and especially makes killing their identity, their sin, their whole life, especially like a soldier has, when they come back, they feel alienated from war to such a degree that, especially when people just simply wants to push them away to essentially try and attack them for where they messed up, it's obviously even harder for them to just fit back into normal society. I mean, just take the story of Rambo, First Blood, how he comes back to the United States after being in war, and he's just peacefully trying to find a comrade from war times who ended up dying, and just this local small town is just so hardcore giving him crap, mainly the police, to where they push him, and they continue to push him so much that he finally snaps. He starts pushing back. He starts fighting them. He just wants to be left alone. He just wants to be respected. And he finally breaks down talking about the nasty things that he comes home being called, like a freaking a child killer or something. And war really does a lot of nasty things to people. And in Metal Gear, you have this figure, Big Boss, who is trying to tell the soldiers they need war because there is no place for soldiers otherwise in the world, which is just gnarly. like absolutely over the top gnarly. And not to mention, he also is manipulating these people who were once fighting against him to fight with him after these people who were just a resistance group that was fighting against Big Boss. So many of them ended up getting killed from a bombing that happened right after the ending of Metal Gear, to where Outer Heaven just got destroyed. So then with Metal Gear Solid, there is a much deeper, a much more messed up, and I mean truly messed up, plot going on there, involving the likes of scientists being basically duped into creating a nuclear weapon that clearly he had far more pure intentions for. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of scientists who contributed to these weapons of war actually went through such a what's the word I'm looking for here? Their own just life story of thinking, oh, I went far in science because I want to do good for the world, and then they ended up getting duped into something far more messed up, and then they vow to actually fix it, to fight back against it. And then you also have this super messed up plot being introduced with cloning. And specifically cloning for the sake of trying to create super soldiers. Super soldiers being something that is all too common in fiction in general, whether it's sci-fi specifically or something more down to earth. Super soldiers are all too common in fiction, and I can completely say without shame that I believe that that is a real conspiracy happening in the world, and that all types of countries are trying to do it in their own way. And you also have the fact that there was a higher up in the United States trying to then bomb the place that the original game, the original Metal Gear Solid was taking place, for the sake of covering up anything that relates back to this higher up. All to then be arrested because he was supposedly acting alone, but to be completely honest, I find those claims usually to be bullshit. I'm just being honest here. I do, because it's all too often that these claims of I'm acting alone is not really the case, and that there's someone else pulling the strings, or someone who will just simply walk in and do the exact same thing, just continuing that person's work because while they were acting alone, they weren't really. And Metal Gear Solid 2 really points this out with the Patriots, which is, let's just be real, a allegory for the for the Illuminati. And then there's all this stuff with AI, with how they are worried about how fast information spreads on the internet. I mean, nowadays, let's just be real here. Nowadays, you have such an over-the-top obsession with fact-checking, which, let's be real, if any of this stuff was actually BS to begin with, why the hell are they so over-the-top obsessed with trying to bury shit over the claim of, oh, I'm just fact-checking. No need to worry, I'm just fact-checking. I'm just fact-checking and saying that this is bullshit, because I say it's bullshit. So that's the end of the story. And you should take it as the end of the story. If you don't, I'm fact-checking you next. I mean, who the hell truly thinks that that is not a case of absolute bullshit? That is a case of absolute lies. That is a case of absolutely controlling information. Because they go hard over medical misinformation, over political misinformation, so on and so forth. I mean, YouTube has gone hard in trying to cover up stuff like what happened with Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell, two musicians in what I can generally categorize as the rock genre of music, having both been a part of a documentary called The Silent Children that was seeking to expose pedophilic crimes. And they went out of their way to basically offer to those who care to donate to such a documentary that they would get a signed poster from the two of them. And yes, this clip is out there. It's clearly not AI. It's a real clip of these two endorsing this documentary. And then not long after, they supposedly both died from supposed suicide. When Soundgarden was going to come back, when especially Chester Bennington was also the new singer of Stone Temple Pilots, and he grew up as a huge fan of that. So why would someone who suddenly is now the lead singer of what was his favorite band growing up would kill himself? It's all too screwy. And that's just an example of the kind of misinformation crap that YouTube has been trying to control, which they only control because, let's be real here, Google is corrupt. I'm just flat out going to say it. Google is corrupt. They probably have plenty of people who are on stuff like the Epstein Island list. I would not be surprised if the list was released and we could for sure 100% guarantee that the list was not being tampered with, that we'd see Google's higher ups on that list. Just bottom line. And I'm not also trying to build up practically any specific political party exactly either. Because while I have a side of me that trusts Donald Trump to a degree, that being said, I can't say that I wholly trust him, if only because growing up, I was always not trusting the government to begin with. My mom shared with me what people would, yes, label as conspiracy theories, when that's basically just the label that they use to basically go, "Ah, it's not true, ah!" Instead of, okay, so this could be true, and I'm willing to see what may be pointing towards it being true. I never trusted the government to begin with. I never trusted the United States. I never trusted really any country, to be honest with you. And I ain't even saying that because I would rather support anarchy or hell, communism. No. It's more about, it's clear that all these big people in power are not to be trusted, and in many cases are just puppets. I mean, if you look at the United States presidents and just the politicians in general, the absolute ridiculous majority of the time, they're clearly reading off of scripts. They're not the ones actually doing the job. They're just reading off of a script and being a puppet. Bottom line. It's why I never trusted the Clintons, why I never trusted the Bush family, why I never trusted Obama, especially when people's only claim is, "Hey, first black president, trust him. And I'm like, why the hell does someone being the first black anything constitute that I should just be praising that and just going mindless all supporting that just because, hey, first black this or first black that? So I mean if anything, it's some sort of racism still, because now people have been worked up over, if anything just so happens to be black, then you should give it all the respect possible, and even just excuse all the crap that they pull off. Like if the person happens to be black and they do a good job, cool. But that isn't just going to be an excuse to not look at where they screw up. That's for sure. And, Joe Biden is also clearly a mega creep and is probably on the Epstein Island list, as well as the Clintons and many, many, many other politicians. The only reason I even slightly am willing to trust Donald Trump is simply the fact that he clearly is not a politician in the first place. That being said, he is still human and could totally be corrupted, could totally be pulling some sort of game on people. Now, who I really don't trust is Elon Musk. Elon Musk has so many signs of him just being a full-on Satanist, from satanic Halloween costumes to freaking just so many creepy claims. I mean, one of the big things that I'm gonna try and find me having shared here. I mean, this guy is pushing artificial intelligence, and flat out, let's just be real, whether you are Christian or not, artificial intelligence has always been a bad idea, especially with all the sci-fi that shows us artificial intelligence is a bad idea. Just saying. And there's quotes from Elon Musk where he's talking about summoning the demon with artificial intelligence. And one of the big things he is developing is a neural implant that is going to be powered by AI and supposedly be a way to pay for shit. If you have even a slight bit of knowledge of Christianity, that should point towards the mark of the beast there. And that's just no, just flat out no. He also hasn't been exactly holding up his promises with Twitter about making it a free speech kind of platform. It's clearly not that. Like, bottom line, it just isn't. Now, that being said, also in Metal Gear Solid 2, there was this whole plot with AI that was misleading the character of Raiden, down to where by the end of the game, when a virus was uploaded to try and kill off the AI, it's starting to instead bug the hell out and is saying some very creepy stuff to where it, honest to God, scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. Or, well, not kid, but like I was in my teens and I was playing this game, and I get to that part where I'm literally bare ass naked and sneaking around these guards while the AI pretending to be Colonel Roy Campbell is freaking out and giving me stories of supposedly a like possibly being abducted by aliens or something, with the kind of crap he was talking about, to just flat out going, Raiden, turn the PS2 off right now. And Raiden's like, what did you say? The mission's a failure. Cut the power right now. And Raiden's like, what's wrong with you? All for him to go, don't worry, it's just a game. It's just a game like usual. That was admittedly where I was scared out of my mind, and it took me a while to actually finish Metal Gear Solid 2 because of how creepy that was. And Metal Gear Solid 3 also had a very profound story with the whole conspiracy of basically a double agent type of spy during the Cold War times who makes herself appear like she is betraying her country, the United States, all to join the Soviet Russian government, and instead she was just playing along to get the United States money that belongs to what's basically the Illuminati in the story. And she was just basically a pawn for her country, and she never got the respect she deserved by the country actually acknowledging that she was a hero. She instead died being known as a traitor, which is just so fucked up. And it's that kind of crap that broke this character known as Big Boss. And then we get to Metal Gear Solid 4. And here, it is way too close to end times. Down to this stuff with the nanomachines. In the first place, the nanomachines were introduced in Metal Gear Solid 1, the PS1 game that released in 1998. And the nanomachines, people just like to boil it down to being magic because supposedly it'll do this, that, and the other for you to where you don't have to worry about food or this, that, or the other. Or supposedly it'll make you stronger because in reality it just sounds like a bunch of fucking drugs that it's feeding you over time. And then as it goes on, the main character is realizing that his that somehow he's causing these select specific people to have heart attacks and just die out of nowhere, even if they were very healthy men. And then there's this whole thing about how this virus that targets people based on their genes, called Foxdie, was also altered because this chick who created it had a grudge on the main character, Snake, for killing someone who was like family to her. And just it's basically an up in the air kind of, is this ever going to actually kill the main character thing. So then nanomachines got super fucked up to where it may as well be the mark of the beast in this story, as it is a future where war is used to basically make the world economy work at all. To where PMCs fight war just to generate money. Just to keep the money flowing in. And it gets even more fucked up when you realize that the nanomachines literally ID locks guns to where people can't just pull the trigger on any gun without being properly ID'd to work with said gun. So literally, it is a mark of the beast because you also even need said new nanomachines in order to even buy guns. It's literally a case of the mark of the beast, flat out. And it's this whole thing where secretly there's like a whole war going on where they're trying to finally take down the Illuminati. The thing is, this kind of stuff being so legitimate when you realize the biblical truth is something that blows my mind. Bottom line, it does, and like I said, it's a part of why I still have any interest in fiction at all, to reflect on this stuff in whatever way it has a story of reflection at all. And it's mind-blowing. And just recently, today, I was shared a video that was pointing out some of the ways that the end times prophecy may have actually legitimately begun. And I'm just pulling up this guy's one section of his video where he starts to point this out. As there's this talk of 7 trumpets in Revelations, and while well, admittedly, I'm not too sure if this is supposed to be trumpets that we are, well, it sounds like these are meant to be trumpets that we are going to hear worldwide when these are blown. And these are supposedly going to be blown during certain times where these signs are going to start. And one of the big things that started supposedly is one of the first big signs is green grass, and a third of the trees are burned up. And someone specifically pointed to what was happening with these California fires. Now, granted, I wouldn't say that California really counts for like a third of the grass and trees in the first place, but it counts for a lot of it, for sure. Because it's obviously such a big state and everything, but it's something to at least kind of be thinking about, especially when it is so clear that Hollywood is so over the top, deeply corrupt. And then the second trumpet is something about a third of the sea becoming blood, and a third of ships and sea life being destroyed. And that has definitely seemed to be something that could be legit starting to happen, as there's this river that's being dried up, which I think people referred to as the Euphrates. I'm honestly just doing this in one go here because I'm just trying to share this with people, trying to help this get out there, because honest to God, the only reason why I feel like this is important to touch upon is simply put the fact that while I may not be a scientific person, I always, while it may sound silly, I always looked up to the stories of superheroes, of heroes in general, saving lives, doing the right thing out of selflessness. They're very inspiring stories for people for a reason. And it gave me a heart to just wish to see people saved as much as possible. And while from the prophecy, there ain't going to be that many people who will actually be saved in comparison to those who aren't saved, I just want to help people realize the biblical truth. The truth is, the Holy Bible is literal history. Not only is the Holy Bible literal history, but Jesus Christ is going to return. And I just pray that as many of my friends, my family, my acquaintances online or in person, my prayer lists even, because I am praying for so many people, whether they're in game development, in Hollywood, in making anime, in politics even. I'm just praying for as many people as possible to repent where they need to and be saved, because I also want to help Jesus. I want to serve Jesus for what he did in choosing to save me despite where I am not a perfect person, where I have messed up. And because of that, that's why I cared to make this. It's why I'm going to care about doing these secular media breakdowns, and why I am also in the middle of making a story that I'm not entirely sure if God is going to actually be wanting me to make this story or not just yet, but I have a feeling that it could potentially bring people to Christianity, and I pray it does. I'm praying for everyone who watches this, whether it's going to be some of the few subscribers that I have currently, or anyone who just happens to find this. I'm just praying for you all. And God bless.